Hello. So I'm up here very early in the morning now to try and get this recorded before the room heats up, so it's unbearable. It's pretty unbearable now. Okay, I'm going to be talking about the Labour MP, Remainer and Corbyn supporter, Dawn Butler, the Right Honourable Member for the of Parliament for the constituency of Brent. She was ordered out of the House of Commons the other day for calling the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, a liar. There's an English expression to do with pots and kettles. I can't say the whole thing because if I do, the YouTube algorithm will get me and this video will be demonetized, or I wouldn't even try to monetize it, not because I have any untoward intent towards Miss Butler, but because she, being the person she is, YouTube would see a problem with a full explanation of the expression about pots and kettles. So back to Miss Butler and her accusation, which she levelled at Boris Johnson about him lying to the British people. She said, the Prime Minister has lied to this House time and time again. And that's probably true, since that's what we pay politicians to do, isn't it? But there are different sorts of lie. For instance, there's a lie a politician might come out with in order to stop a panic by downplaying something that's quite dangerous. Oh, any groaning going on is the dog expressing his opinion about the heat. Okay, and then there's a lie that a politician might tell in the service of his party, to deflect from an embarrassing situation or to defend a colleague. That's not what I call a good lie, but I do say there is a qualitative difference between that and a lie that might be calculated to start a race riot, which I'm not going to accuse Miss Butler of, because she might get at me for it, but certainly she made a mistake that could have started a race riot. Let's look at it that way. And of course, if I'm mistaken here, then I'd be very happy to correct it. I shall simply lay the facts before you, the viewer, and you can make up your mind about how you think I'm interpreting them, or other people have interpreted them as well. Last year, with the George Floyd riots fresh in our minds, Miss Butler was in a Mercedes-Benz with heavily tinted windows proceeding through Hackney when she was stopped by the police. Now, Hackney is a very, how should I put this? Well, depressed area, and it does have a high level of crime. So it's possible that a Mercedes driving through that sort of an area might have attracted the attention of the police. The story the police give is that they were doing routine number plate checks, and this number plate flagged up as being from somewhere at a great distance from Hackney, so they wanted to check whether the driver was, the owner, or had the permission of the owner, let's put it that way, something like that. That's what they say. But as soon as they had stopped the car, they realised that the number plate that had been reported was not the number plate in front of them. They'd made a mistake. So the police, one of the officers, went to the car, and when the window was opened, it seems like he was trying to apologise, to explain what had gone wrong, but he could hardly get a word in edgeways for the bombastic response of Miss Butler, who was sort of, "Do you know who I am?"ing at him, and telling him that he was getting at her because she was black. Now, there are a couple of things that I want to draw to your attention. I'm only showing you still pictures, but you may notice in this shot Miss Butler appears to be sitting in the driving seat. Remember, to the average Brit, that would look like she was driving, because in Britain, we drive on the left side of the road, and so the driver sits on the right. Or if you're looking at this, it'll be the other way around. So let's do it. The left side of the road and the driver sits on the right. Well, you get the idea. To any British person looking at that picture, the instant thing, without even analysing it, would be that she was driving. But that's not accurate, because you see, the picture has been flipped. And you can see it's been flipped because the policeman is wearing his communicator on the wrong shoulder. In that photograph, his communicator is here. It is here, rather. And they wear their communicators here on their left shoulders. So it just appears that Miss Butler flipped the picture deliberately so that it would look like she was driving. She never actually says she was driving. She never says she's a passenger either. So it could be speculated by those of an unfriendly disposition to Miss Butler that she was planning to say that she was the driver and that the police had targeted a black woman because she was driving a Mercedes. And I have to repeat, this is something that only the unfriendly and the cynical might say. And then the unfriendly and the cynical might also suggest that as soon as Miss Butler had realised that by flipping the picture and sort of implying that she was the driver, the story became obvious when the police communicator mirror image was obvious, that she then said that the driver was black. Now, this is an image of the driver with a very heavily blurred face. And you have to ask why she should be so interested in blurring out the driver's face. And indeed, some might observe that the blurring, however blurred it is, well, looks distinctly pink, doesn't it? And to me, but in my innocence, you see, I don't know how these things work out. The driver's arm not only seems very pale, but it also seems to be quite hairy, which is an uncharacteristic attribute of a black man. And so I would observe that even if the police could actually see the people through those tinted windows into the car, the ethnic background of the driver would most likely appear to be distinctly European. As I said, that's if they could actually see through the tinting. Now, I'm not the first person to be a little sceptical of the race of the driver of the car, and Miss Butler could easily have put all our minds at rest simply by producing a proper photo of the man, or indeed having him step forward and confirm her version of events. But the man has never been identified, nor has there been a proper photograph of him, and he has not stepped forward to confirm Miss Butler's version of events. So the only conclusion that many people have reached, not me of course, many people have reached, is that Miss Butler wanted to give an impression that may not have strictly conformed to reality. Also, many people have speculated that she was out to accuse the police of deliberately targeting her and her companion simply because they were dark-skinned and driving a swish car, and that the police somehow managed to identify their victims and their skin colour through the sort of tinting for which Mercedes cars are famous. Now, enough people pointed out, well, the anomalies were really quite striking, and many people have said that this could have started an episode of civil unrest and violence from which we might very well still be suffering if enough people hadn't noticed that and started to circulate their opinions, upon which Miss Butler stopped talking about this incident, and nearly all the woke newspapers went very quiet. I shall finish off by agreeing with a sort of general assumption that Miss Butler's story, however she might have seen it, and of course she is an honourable woman, it seems to have about as much relationship to what actually happened as Miss Butler's hairstyle has to her actual hair. That is, it seems like it's mostly extensions. Whatever. To see her standing up in Parliament and accusing Boris Johnson of lying, well, as I said, pots and kettles come clattering into my mind. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.